All right, everyone, Ocasio Cortez is under fire right now, and it'd be surprising to you probably who she's under fire from. It's actually the legacy media. They've decided to turn on her because she had a couple of town halls, and she's like, no, the press is not allowed in my town halls. I need a safe space, for her very fragile fans. There's such a thing as socialist fragility. Whereby they don't want to explain themselves, they don't want to look at history, because the history of socialism is basically genocide over and over. Now, they can't answer your questions, and I think the thing is this. Some people are speculating, well, she's a socialist, therefore she has a lot of fans that have undocumented status, so they don't want ICE agents coming and dragging half her audience away. That doesn't make sense, because the press is on her side on that, so having them in the room wouldn't mean anything. It wouldn't be meaningful. She could just ask him, hey, keep the shot close in enough on my face, so someone in the crowd might be illegal or something, just for them. They would be more than willing to oblige. She's been the media darling now for some time. So there's number one. I think the real reason is she's terrified that somebody will be there who is not a super fan, someone from the community, a constituent that nonetheless is not fully on board with far leftism, will ask her an economic question that she cannot answer. And that would be basically any economic question, because socialists can't answer economic questions. They have to either use some weird logical fallacy, or they'll use examples that you can blow out of the water really easily, like, oh, socialism works so well in Norway. Just ignore the fuel component or the full market economy propping up the redistributionism. Ignore all of that and the corporate welfare. It works fine. It's real socialism. You said that about Venezuela and Nicaragua and all these states too. And every time they inevitably fail, it's no longer socialism. Socialists have never run an economy properly in the history of mankind. The only way that they can straggle on is if you have a massively capitalistic complex actually generating the revenue for them to leech off of. It's the only way that it works, and it's, unfortunately for socialism, most of them oppose the very concept of having an actual free market situation underlying the redistributionism. So that's the real reason. She doesn't want to answer hard questions, and if she does have to answer one, she doesn't want the press there to have footage of it. Apparently, she'd rather have somebody there with an iPhone to get footage. Are she confiscating people's phones at these town halls? Probably is. So she's got groups like the New York Times and CNN saying, well, this is regrettable. She shouldn't do this. She's ignoring the very concept of what a town hall is meant to be. It doesn't make any sense, and she should stop it. So she's actually managing to get in, and she's playing the victim. She's like, oh, they don't like me and stuff, sort of pulling a Clinton. Clinton used to do that. Like, anytime she got a tough question from CNN or something, it's a vast right-wing conspiracy by our evil media. They just hate me so much. And meanwhile, if you actually look at it, she got overwhelmingly positive coverage through the entire election. She was the media darling during the primaries. They wanted her to run for a half a fucking decade beforehand, so it was pretty lopsided. And it's funny. It's funny because here we see the real war on the press, the corporate press at least. Here's the real war on the media. The real war on the media is that people who don't want to answer questions won't even let CNN come in with their cameras. As far as Trump, press follows him everywhere. He goes to the bathroom. They'd want to follow him into the fucking stalls the next time he goes to Taco Hell or something. That's the way that Trump works. They constantly ask questions of Huckabee Sanders, and they're constantly asking him questions. They're at every one of his rallies. He even interacts with them, usually in the form of criticism. Which one is more disruptive to the free and open media idea of the corporate side of the media? You don't let them in, so they can't even record anything, and all they can do is speculate on even what's said, or you criticize them, but you still have them there. I would think the former would be more disruptive to the concept of the First Amendment, and remember, that's just the corporate media anyway. Meanwhile, the real true press is sitting there here on YouTube or on a blog or something criticizing her for being a shill, basically. She doesn't understand economics. She's a wedge issue baiter, basically. And that's what democratic socialism, so-called, is. Bernie Sanders tries to coin that term, so, well, it's not the same as Maduro or something like that. It's democratic socialism. Yeah, so are most, Ortega was democratically elected. Maduro was democratically elected. I don't think there was anyone on the ballot running against him because, they're all under house arrest or maybe shot, but it's still an election. It's still there. It's still technically a representative system. You know, try to kick the socialists out of power in some of the European nations and see what happens. Probably a lot of violence. They cling to violence, they cling to power through propaganda, and when that stops working, like in Nicaragua, by the way, or in Northern Europe, then they resort to violence when it looks like they're going to lose anyway. Yeah, people like Cortez, they don't want to be questioned by anyone. Even the media, even if the media likes her, she still doesn't want to be asked questions while their cameras are rolling. Like, that's anathema to the concept of leftism. Leftism loses when it's exposed. It's like a vampire. You know, you open the blinds, the sun comes in, the vampire vanishes in a flash and turns into a pile of dust. That's sort of how socialism and communism and some of these groups, ANCAPs, I would say, right along with them, any anarcho-anything movement, they tend to not be able to actually defend their beliefs. If they do, sometimes they devolve into self-righteousness. It's like you talk to some socialist, oh, you want the poor to starve, and you want gay people to be mistreated, and you're a fascist because you don't believe in what I believe in. And you're like, well, you know, what you believe in kills a hell of a lot of people. Hundreds of millions throughout history have died because of socialism and communism. No, but you can just ignore that and pretend like, you know, your glorious utopia is possible. No, that's exactly what she believes. And then sometimes the progressives will be like, well, it's not real socialism. She's not advocating for socialism. Okay, heavy-handed redistributionism, hardline centralization on an order of magnitude more than just intervention alone is not socialism now? Well, it's basically public ownership through the government of the means of production. It's just there's technically sort of a market aspect to it, except it's intervened in so much already that it would be socialism. It would also collapse the U.S. economy if we adopted the kinds of things she wants. So universal health care. Well, how do I pay for it? I don't know. Magic and shit. We'll print more money. If we just print out enough money, everyone can be a millionaire. Look, we'll be so rich. Haha, socialism is so great. There are people who unironically seem to believe that. Maduro right now is like, oh, I know how to take care of hyperinflation. We'll shave 5 zeros off the currency. What the fuck does that do? The currency is not worth any more than it already is. How are you even going to print it up? Are you just going to take magic markers and, you know, scrub out the last 5 zeros on them? And then the one person who doesn't, I guess they have a lot of money. It doesn't make any sense. That's Marxist economics for you. Basically, do the opposite of what is sensible and what will work, and then when things go wrong, blame the evil capitalists or the CIA or something. Oh, it's not our fault. You know, it couldn't be our centralization fell through because we're just shitty central planners. Somebody else is responsible. The other people, the bourgeoisie, this other country, secret Nazis or something. And she'll probably blame secret Nazis for why she's being attacked for this too. That's about all. Peace out.